Oh, and we are live from Glasgow this morning, waiting for people to join this live stream. But I guess if you're not watching it live, then it doesn't really make much difference to you whether we're waiting or not. We'll give it just 1 second to see when people join. Okay, we have people starting to join now. So hello, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Hope you're well today. Please say hello when you come in the live chat. You can say hello there. And tell me your name as well. Also, you could tell me where you are just now. As I said, I'm in Glasgow. It's not a bad day today. It's not as cold as it's been. It's not raining, so that's good as well. So please say hello when you come in before we get started. More people are joining. Say hello, tell me your name, and say where you're from in the live chat before we get started. That would be good. So if you don't know me, then my name's Alex. I'm in Glasgow, in Scotland. Ramon from Spain. Hello, thank you for joining us. How are you today? It's nice to meet you, to virtually meet you, I guess. Unfortunately not face to face. Anybody else want to say hello? It's good to use the live chat because we're going to use that at different points in the lesson. So, you know, if you say hello, tell me your name, then that will be good once we get started. Because in today's lesson, we're going to talk about collocations, as I'm sure you're aware. So we're going to, a little bit different than some of the live chats that I've done before, where, it's all been about you answering questions and things like that. To start with, we're going to answer some questions like, what is a collocation? Hi, Thursday. How are you? Nice. Thanks for joining. I was going to say nice to see you, but I can't see you. But thank you for joining. So like I said, we're going to talk about what a collocation is. We're going to talk about why collocations are important. Hi, Elaf. Thank you for joining. And we're going to talk about the different types of collocations they are, the different combinations that you can get in collocations. And we're going to do a little test. We're going to look at 14 sentences. Hi, Mamso, thank you for joining. We're going to look at 14 sentences with what would be the most typical collocation in that sentence. And then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can learn collocations and how you can keep track of these things. So we've got a lot of things to cover today. So the first question that we have is, what actually is a collocation? So, I'm not sure if any of you read the blog that I did the other day. Some of the things will come from that, but it's always useful to look at these things again. So the question, what is a collocation? Okay, so I'm going to give you two definitions of what a collocation is, and then we can try to figure out what that actually means and start to look at some examples. Okay, so here is our first definition of what a collocation is. I put it in the live chat. I'm going to hold it up to the screen just for those of you who maybe can't see it so well. So it is, I can read it upside down, get my piece of paper. The combination of words formed when two or more words are often used together in a way that sounds correct. So that's a dictionary definition of what collocation actually is. Let's look at another one as well to see if, maybe it's a little bit of a simpler definition. It's also a dictionary definition, but we can look at that. Okay, so here we have the regular use of some words and phrases with others, especially in a way that is difficult to guess. Juliet, hello. Thank you for joining us. Thanks. Okay, so what does this actually mean for us as language learners. It means that, you know, collocation is two words or more, you know, bigger pieces of language, two plus, so two and a bigger number of words which naturally go together. And in that last the second definition, it says it's difficult to guess. That's the thing that really makes it difficult to learn these things, because it's not obvious, and also, you know, there's not necessarily a good reason why, or there isn't a good reason why this is the correct answer. It's just the correct answer because it's natural. I mean, if we take a simple example, you know, for example, do you do homework or make homework? So, you know, you don't have to write the answer to that, but the answer is do homework. And that's a simple case of collocation. It's because it's what we say in English. In other languages, maybe they'll use, you know, the translation of make homework. But in English, we say do homework. So these are really important things for people to remember at all different levels, but especially important when you go from intermediate and you want to go more advanced, because there's a lot of collocations you have to learn. And when you use them, you sound more advanced. So let's have a look at some examples of collocations. I'll put them into the chat box. So I'm going to show you one second, sorry. Very good. Okay, so show you one at a time, but we have some different words here. So we've got a hard frost. So that's good for this time of year because, you know, it has been freezing here in Scotland. So we've got a hard frost and a strong frost, okay? So in English, we can say a hard frost. That's a natural collocation for us to use, but a strong frost isn't. We wouldn't say a strong frost. And the only reason why is because of collocation. So, you know, these things naturally go together. Do, yeah, Elaf, thank you. Do, I guess that's about homework. You know, a hard frost is correct. Sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. He's decided to go mad. A hard frost is a strong collocation. It's a normal way of using that expression, but a strong frost isn't. And it's just because of collocation. Another example would be these ones. So if you look at a strong wind and a heavy wind, a strong wind is a correct collocation, but with the line through it, a heavy wind, we can't say that. And, you know, as learners of a language, we always say, why? Why can you not say that? And the real reason is just because it collocates. This is a collocation, and that's why we can say a strong wind and not a heavy wind. So you see, it's so important to have these correct collocations if you're going to communicate well. And one thing to bear in mind at this point is that you have stronger and weaker collocations. So you have some collocations which are the most natural way to express something, and then other ones which are less natural. For example, a strong wind is a strong collocation because it very naturally goes together. Heavy rain, yes, you can say that, Thusa, yeah, thanks for the question. We could also say high wind. So that's less common, but yeah, exactly, Ramon, because speakers would say that's the best way to express the idea. And also, it's just the most normal way. So if a native speaker hears you say a hard frost, that sounds natural to them. But if they hear you say a heavy wind, it doesn't sound natural. So it's just about what is natural. And, you know, unfortunately for language learners, these are things that you just have to learn. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, I think we've got a good idea of what a collocation is at this point. So I just want to talk for a minute before we go into the exercises. I just want to talk about for a minute about why they are important. Okay. So we're going to talk about three things here. The first thing is that using natural language makes you sound more natural when speaking the language. Okay, this sounds a little bit like of course, but it's actually really important, like I said before, as you progress, as you get from, that kind of intermediate level and you want to go to upper intermediate, you want to go to advanced, then it's important that you sound natural, and it's important that you use the correct phrases and the correct collocations, and that's why it's important. Another thing about why collocations are important, which again may seem obvious, but we're going to talk about it very quickly, and that is that learning chunks of, what does that say? Learning chunks of language is easier than learning single words. So this is obviously true as well. If you're going to learn a word like frost, that was the example that we had. So think back to the adjective that I used with frost earlier on. So you say a hard frost. So if you learn a hard frost and maybe even learn a verb with it as well, for example, the country experienced a hard frost. So learning experienced a hard frost is so much more useful than just learning one single word, frost. And obviously, you're more likely to remember it as well because it's a bigger piece, it's in context, and it's going to be easier for you to learn, for you to actually use it in the future. And the last thing about why collocations are important is, this might not be important for everybody, but for a lot of people who are learning a language, it is, and they're essential if you want to become advanced, improve your writing, reading or listening, or do the IELTS exam or other exams. So a lot of people get to intermediate. Hi Angelica, I just saw you. Hello. A lot of people get to about intermediate level and they're able to communicate in English, and that's enough for them. But if you want to go a little bit higher, collocations are important. They can improve your writing, they can improve your reading and listening, and exams like Cambridge Advanced, Cambridge First Certificate, IELTS, all of these exams test collocations, so they're essential for that as well. Okay, so let's talk about some different types of collocations and different combinations. So we're going to talk about 7 different ones, okay? I'm going to put the examples, I'll put all the examples up just now and then we can talk about them. Oh no, I can't put all of them up, there's too many words. Okay, I'll do it one by one. I'll do 2 at a time actually, that'll be easier. That doesn't look very good in the chat box, but you can look here. So like I said, 7 different combinations of collocations that we can talk about. So the first one, like we see here, is an adverb and an adjective. So it's a combination of an adverb and an adjective, which very often go together. The example that I have here is fully aware. Okay. The next one is an adjective and a noun. Regular exercise. Okay, so regular, adjective, exercise, noun, that's the second type of combination we have. We could also have a noun plus a noun. So I'm going to show you an example of that as well. I'll put the next 2. Okay, the next one we have noun plus noun. The example we have is a school day. So that's an example of a noun plus a noun. Then we have a noun plus a verb. The plane took off. Okay, so it's a phrasal verb, but it's still a collocation. So planes take off, when they leave the ground. So that's an example of a collocation as well. When you think about, what things can take off, you think about a plane, a rocket, a spaceship, things like that. So it needs to be used with those. The other 3 types that we're going to look at today Okay, so we have a verb plus a noun. The example we have is commit murder. Not a very nice example, I guess, but commit is a type of verb that only collocates with certain things. So commit murder, commit a crime, these are strong collocations. Yeah. Also, we have a verb plus an expression with a preposition. So, it could be a phrasal verb, I guess, but it could just be, an adjective plus a preposition. Oh, sorry, it's only verbs here. So verbs plus prepositions, which isn't actually a phrasal verb. It just needs the preposition, because phrasal verb means it changes the meaning of the verb. So, this kind of generally thinking about verbs with prepositions. So the example we have here is run out of gas. So, we've got the phrasal verb here, run out, and then we've got of something as well. So that's a good example. You have both, because it's a phrasal verb, run out, which also needs the preposition of. So run out of gas, run out of fuel, run out of milk. All of these different things are collocations. And then the last one we have is a verb plus an adverb. So the example we have here is whisper softly. Some more optimistic ones are possible with commit murder. Commit is the type of verb that we only really use with negative things, unfortunately. So like I said, commit murder, commit a crime, commit suicide. Obviously, you can commit to something, you can commit to somebody, but in terms of collocations, those are the ones. The examples that we're going to look at are hopefully a little bit more optimistic. So we've got these 7 different types that are useful for you to know and useful for you to remember. So now I'm going to put the emphasis on you a little bit, okay? And we're going to look at 2 example sentences for each different type of collocation, okay? So I'm going to show you a sentence one by one with a gap in it, okay? And I have in my mind what is the strongest collocation for that gap, but it doesn't mean that it's the only correct answer, okay? Something to bear in mind here. So I'm going to put it into the chat box, show you in the screen, and I'd like you to try to give me some answers, okay? So, feel free, to give me what you think is the most natural answer. What's the first thing that comes to your head for that space? And then we can talk about some of your answers and what I would give as the strongest collocation in that case. So we're going to start with adverbs and adjectives, like in the list. And our first sentence, sorry, Angelica, this is actually a negative one as well. I must have been feeling negative when I wrote these ones, but here is the sentence. Okay, so he was something injured in the car crash and spent weeks in hospital. Yes, I must have been negative in that case. So here the missing gap is an adverb. Yeah. So what's the first thing you think about? In what way was he injured? So we're looking for an adverb that would fit into that sentence and make the best collocation. So we've got some answers coming through already. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds so that other people can give an answer as well. Okay, so I've got some different answers there. Okay, I'm going to show you the sentence that I wrote, and then we'll talk about your answers. Okay, so the way I wrote it was this: he was badly injured in the car crash and spent weeks in hospital. So Ramon, yes, I agree with you that badly was good. He was seriously injured, ma'am, so that's a good example as well. I'll definitely accept that. You need to watch the spelling of seriously there. Yeah, and that's one. We have 14 of them, so let's see how many you get, Ramon, from 14. So seriously, he was slightly, but he spent weeks in hospital, so slightly wouldn't really make much sense there. Thursday, heavily injured, that doesn't collocate too well, unfortunately. Yeah, and unfortunately, Angelica, unfortunately would probably go at the start of the sentence, so it wouldn't really work there, even though it is an adverb. Yeah. So I think from these examples that we've got, my favorite one is badly, and seriously is also good, but probably not as strong a collocation, so as natural a collocation as badly. Well done. Oh, sorry, I'll put the complete sentence in there as well. Oh no, I don't have the complete sentence. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. So there's the complete sentence there. Let's look at another one. So again, we're looking at an adverb and an adjective, and we're looking to complete the adverb again in this case. Okay. Maybe a slightly more difficult one this time, but we'll see. He was something delighted to win first prize. So finally, we have a positive sentence, a positive meaning sentence, not a positive sentence in the sense of grammar. So he was something. He was okay. Ramon, extremely delighted. Let's see what else you get. Any other ideas? Like I said, this is slightly more difficult one. Extremely, extremely. Indeed. Doesn't work here. Extremely. Anybody else want to give it a go with the answer? Okay, I'm going to show you what I think is the strongest. Good, Thissy. That's the same as I said. Okay, so he was absolutely delighted to win first prize. So with delighted, I would say the strongest collocation is absolutely. Extremely also works, but he was truly excited. He was truly delighted. That works as well. Actually, I would say it's weaker, so it's not quite as natural. The most natural one we could have here is absolutely. Extremely is pretty good, and truly works as well. Again, with indeed, he was delighted. Probably indeed would come after delighted or at the start of the sentence, so it doesn't work in that space there. Good. Okay, so we're going to move on and start to look at a couple of examples with adjectives and nouns. Okay, so in both these sentences I'm going to put up, I'm looking for you to put the adjective. Okay, I can't understand what he's saying. He has a really something Scottish accent. A lot of people say this about us Scots, that they can't understand their accent. Broad, that's a really good answer. It's not the answer I went for, Ramon, actually, but it's a very good answer. Okay, some good examples there. Some people are shy to answer. It looks like we have always 4 people coming in. Oh, and Juliet is doing it. Okay, good. So I'll show you what I went for, and then we'll talk about your answers. Okay, so I went for, I can't understand what he is saying. He has a really strong Scottish accent. Strong is a good collocation. Ramon, your answer, broad, is also a very good collocation. So a broad accent, that's the combination. It doesn't always have to be Scottish, okay? It could be different types of accents. So a strong accent, a broad accent, they're both really good, strong collocations. Hard doesn't work. I guess, with the meaning of hard to understand, but we don't really describe an accent as being hard. But broad and strong are both really good, strong collocations with the noun accent. Okay, let's have a look at another sentence. Again, we're looking for an adjective to collocate with the noun. In this case, the noun is traffic. And the example we have here is I was late for the interview because I was stuck in something traffic. So we're looking for an adjective here that will collocate with traffic. Okay, Ramon, you're doing well today, I have to say. Maybe you do well every day. I don't know. Okay, thanks, Lucy. Terrific. Okay, is anybody else going to give us an answer? Let's see. Before I give you my answer. So my answer is the same as Ramon's and Thusy's. And it is, I was late for the interview because I was stuck in heavy traffic. So Juliet, you couldn't really talk about traffic being terrific. Terrific almost always has a really positive meaning. It doesn't collocate very well with traffic as well. So we couldn't use that here. The best, by far, the best adjective to collocate with traffic is heavy. So well done, Ramon and Thussy. Okay, so now we're going to look at noun plus noun collocations. Okay, so quite often they are like nouns which will very often go together, like a compound noun. You know, there's not much difference between a compound noun and a noun collocation. So, you know, all of these things we're looking at kind of together. So the first sentence, and obviously we're looking for a noun which goes with a noun. You know, in this case, the noun kind of acts like an adjective in the respect that it describes the noun it comes after, but it's still a noun. So that means that we don't change the noun into any other form because it's still a noun. Okay, so let's think about this one. We're looking at a noun plus a noun. I'm going to look for work in an office as I've always wanted to do a something job. So we're looking for a noun to go with job, which will describe the type of work that you do in an office. And remember, with these like compound nouns and these noun collocations, then we wouldn't normally use the first noun in plural. So it would be singular in that case. 9 to 5 job. Okay, that's a good answer as well, Ramon. It's not the answer I have. Excuse me, get some water. Similar meaning to the answer that I have actually, 9 to 5. Does anybody else have an answer? I'm going to get my answer up so that I can give it to you. Full-time, that doesn't really have the same meaning to say, because, you know, a full-time job just means you work full-time. It's more about the number of hours that you work, Monday to Friday. Yeah, that would work as well. I think, you know, 9 to 5 is a much better collocation, Ramon, than Monday to Friday, but, you know, it could work. So let's have a look at mine. Okay, I'm going to look for work in an office as I've always wanted to do a desk job. Yeah, so obviously in an office you work at a desk, so we can describe that with the collocation a desk job. A 9 to 5 job is, you know, pretty much the same, but as Ramon said, and there's also a really good collocation here, but, you know, it kind of thinks about or the focus is on the hours that you work, I guess, as well. In a full-time job, the full focus is on how many hours you work in a week, if it's full-time, or how many days, I guess, as well. Okay, so let's have a look at another one. So again, it's a noun plus a noun. Okay, here's the sentence here. It's better to buy something name TV, as it is less likely to break. So I hope this is clear from this sentence, but what I mean here is like to buy a Sony or a Samsung or something like that, rather than a TV produced by somebody that you've never heard of, a company that you've never heard of. Okay, we've got brand, known, household name. You came up with some really good collocations here, Ramon. I'm impressed. Okay, so I'm going to show you my answer, and it's the same as Thusy's. Well done, Thusy. Okay, it's better to buy a brand name TV as it's less likely to break. So a brand name here, you could say with known doesn't really work in the sentence, but I know the meaning you're going for. We could say maybe a well-known brand would work, well-known with a hyphen in the middle. I'll put that in here. So we could say a sure I don't make any mistakes. A well-known brand would work as well. A household name also works, actually. So a household name is like or a household. Yeah, I mean, you could say a household name is something that everybody will know. Is the meaning there with Ramon's expression. So that works as well. I think brand name probably works a little bit better in this sentence, and it's a stronger collocation with name, a brand name. But the meaning is very similar in that it's a name, a brand that everybody in the world will know. And if we want to use known, let's say a well-known brand rather than a well-known name. Good. Let's have a look at nouns plus verbs. So, we've got noun plus verb, then we've got verb plus noun. So it's, basically the same thing. Obviously, the way the sentences are constructed then depends which one is coming first. Oh, that's a mistake. I put the answer there as well. Okay. So here we have the first sentence, the dog. I didn't mean to do that, sorry. The dog something when the postman came to the door. So we're looking for a verb here. So we've got the noun, the dog, and we're looking for a verb. If you look at the sentence when the postman, came to the door, we're also looking for this verb to be in past simple. Past simple, yeah. It could also be past continuous, actually, I guess here. I thought about it. So, okay, so yes, so everyone's got the right verb, but in terms of grammar, then it could be the dog barked when the postman came to the door. Yeah, which past simple is probably more likely here than past continuous. The dog was barking when the postman came to the door would probably suggest that the dog was barking first and then the postman came to the door. So barked. Yes, barked is the correct answer. So, again, think about collocations, think about natural things. What creatures, what animals bark? It's a dog. So, a dog barks, that's a noun plus verb collocation. I tried to mix these up a little bit. Obviously we have different levels of students coming to these. So, some of them are a little bit harder, some of them a little bit more easy. So let's have a look at the next one. So again, I'm just going to put the answer to that last one. And because I realized I didn't do that. So it said the dog barked when the postman came to the door. I don't know what you prefer, the sentences in the live chat or me holding up the sentences. I tend to do both. Maybe somebody can tell me what they think about it at some point, if you have strong feelings one way or another. I'm just always not sure if people are using a mobile phone, if it's difficult for them to see the live chat, or if people are using laptops. And if you let me know your thoughts on this at some point on Facebook or something, that'd be good. Okay, anyway, I'm talking rubbish. So let's get on here. So we've got another noun plus verb collocation. Snow something on Christmas Day last year. So we're looking for a verb which collocates with snow. And last year, so we're looking for a past tense. And we're looking for past simple as well. So I want to think about a verb that collocates with snow. Okay, Ramon has his answer in. Is anybody else going to answer? Had fallen, Juliet, is past perfect. We don't need that here. Remember, with past perfect, we always need 2 times in the past. And here we're only talking about the 1 time. Yeah. So we would say, for example, snow fell last year and it hadn't fallen for 3 years, and snow hadn't fallen for 3 years before that, something like that. So you've got the 2 times in the past, so we can use past perfect, had fallen. Okay, so the correct answer here is, like a few of you said, snow fell on Christmas Day last year. So that's the collocation here. Snow falls. Snow fell last year. So that's good. Snow fall down, we couldn't use with snow. We could only use fall. So it couldn't be fell down. It would just be fall, present, or snow falls, and then past would be fell. Okay, so we're going to go on to verb plus noun now. So we've got another 2 examples for each of them, and we have 6 sentences left total. I hope you're keeping track of how many you got correct. Maybe you can tell me at the end. Okay, so verb plus noun. I actually spoke about this one earlier. So this is an easier one. I always something my homework before dinner. So if you were listening earlier, then you will have heard that one. I gave that one as an example. So we're looking for a verb to collocate with homework. Yes. Okay, I'm going to put the answer up for that one because you're all too good for that one, I think. Everyone knows that is do. Sometimes when we're talking about the difference between do and make, you'll hear some different explanations of, make involves creating things, and some books will try to explain it that way. But it's not, these things are not 100% accurate to describe it like that. It's about collocation is all it's about. Do works with some things in English and make works with other things. So I think that's a better way of thinking about it. So yes, I always do my homework before dinner. And do to say not done, because it's just a present simple sentence. Okay, and another one with verb plus noun. Into the chat box. And here we have it. The police something the criminal as he was trying to escape. So we're looking for, I guess this verb here collocates with police and criminal and what they do to criminals in that kind of meaning here, like we have. An interesting way to learn collocations is to focus on the verb as well, like the verb that we have here and what we can actually use it with. Yeah, so everyone is right here, but some of you have to watch your spelling because it's C-A-U-T, not C-O. When he was trying to escape, this is so past, yeah. So the police caught the criminal as he was trying to escape. Oh, that's okay, Angelica, no problem. So another way to think about collocations is everything that we can collocate. Earlier on, I was talking about commit a little bit. Commit a murder, commit suicide, commit all of these things. But you can do that with other verbs as well, like catch. You say catch a criminal. You can say catch a cold. What other things can you catch? Catch a ball. I don't know. That's an interesting way when you're learning collocations to look at it like that, in that kind of list. And there's lots of lists online. At the end, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can note down collocations and what you can do to remember and learn these things as well. Okay, so we're going to move on now to verb plus expression with preposition. So in the first sentence, I'm actually looking for, made a mistake there. I'm looking for a verb this time, not the preposition. So the preposition we have already. And here it is here. She heard the news and something into tears. So we're looking for a verb that we can use with tears and into as well. So, collocations sometimes, the difference between a set phrase and a collocation is sometimes only a little bit, but with collocations, there can be more than one answer. But with a set phrase, then it always has to be like that. Angelica, good. That's exactly the one that I went for. So she heard the news, where's that at the top, and burst into tears. Broke into tears is fine as well, both equally. Which one would I prefer? My natural instinct was to go with burst into tears, but broke into tears is also a really good collocation. And burst into tears is almost like a set phrase, set expression, but because you can have broke, this means that it's actually a collocation, not a set fixed phrase, because you can have different alternatives in there as well. So both really good answers. So burst into tears, in case you're wondering, this means to start crying suddenly and a lot as well. So she heard the news and burst into tears. But if you think about tear as a word, then as I said earlier, learning break into tears, learning burst into tears is so much more useful than just learning the word tear or learning to cry or something like that as we progress and become higher level students. Okay, so we're going to now look at another example with a verb plus a preposition. In this case, we're looking for the preposition. One second. So this never happens to any of my students, obviously, but the teacher accused him something cheating in the exam. So basically here we're looking for, in terms of collocation, I guess, this is a little bit more like a verb plus preposition combination, which I threw in there as well, because these are things which are useful to know. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, I did a lesson on prepositions as well, if any of you were at that. So I put that in there. because it's virtually a collocation. It's not quite a collocation, but it's a good combination of things to learn. And everybody has the correct answer. So yes, accuse somebody of something. And just to go back to talking, oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. It's not the wrong one, it's just I didn't have the answer in. So there is the answer there. Of cheating in the exam. And, you know, so it's accused of, Thusi. And while we're talking about prepositions, that's a good sentence just to remind you that after a preposition, if we're using a verb, it's ing, which, you know, I'm always talking about. So accuse somebody of doing something or accuse somebody of something. Yeah, but because we've got the verb cheat here, that's why it's in the ing form. Okay, so we're coming on to the last two sentences, I believe. And we're looking at verb plus adverb. Okay, so in both these sentences, I would like you to complete the adverb. So we have the verb, he spoke something so he wouldn't wake the baby up. Okay, anybody else have some answers they'd like to give? Quietly is a good answer, Ramon. Yeah, quietly is fine. I prefer your second answer. That's the one that I went for. So he spoke softly. I wouldn't say that softly is definitely a stronger collocation than quietly. They're both good examples of collocations, but softly is nicer. It's more advanced. You know, part of the reason we're talking about collocations today is because we want to become more advanced in English. So, you know, I kind of went for the one. Softly was the first one that came to my mind. It doesn't mean that quietly is incorrect, but I would say softly is probably just a better answer. Okay, and our very last sentence of the day. Again, we're looking for an adverb. I something advise you not to do that. So we're looking for an adverb which will work with the verb advise. Notice advise is with an S. The noun advice, different pronunciation, is with a C. That's not what we're talking about today, but I can't help myself. So I've got two answers there. Okay, Thusi, thank you. Let's see. Okay, I'll give you my answer. I went with same as Ramon and Angelica. I strongly advise you not to do that. Clearly, it doesn't really work as a collocation with advise, unfortunately to say, but the strongest one, I'm using the word strong and it is strong here or strongly, but the best collocation, if I can put it like that, is I strongly advise you not to do that. Okay, so we had 14 sentences there. We had lots of very good answers. We had some really good, strong collocations. You know, the ones that I gave you, the examples I gave you are, you know, most of the time the strongest collocation, the one that I would recommend for you to learn. So once we've finished this live stream, then I'm going to put all of the examples into the description of this video, which will go up in my channel. But before we finish, I'd just like to talk a little bit about what you can do to learn collocations, because it kind of feels like collocations are forgotten about a little bit sometimes. and they're so important, for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. So, I think the best way that you can learn collocations, two things really, is first of all is to train yourself to hear and see collocations. So, if you're reading in English, if you're reading a book, something online, a newspaper, whatever, in English, you can see collocations. They're there. So if you see natural use of English, you're going to see collocations everywhere. So, you can think, oh, that's a really good verb plus noun collocation, or that's a great adjective plus noun collocation. So I want to remember that one. So, instead of, quite often when we read or we listen to English, if you're watching TV, you're watching Netflix, whatever, you're concentrating on the meaning a lot. And there are so many opportunities to learn things that people sometimes forget that. So to train yourself to listen to things and think, okay, why, what was that expression there? What was that collocation that I can remember for the future? So that's the first thing, obviously you need to read a lot, you need to listen to a lot of English to do that, and then notice these things. It's a real skill in language learning, is noticing things and then being able to, pull them out. The second thing is to keep a record of them. Buy a vocabulary notebook if you don't have one as well, or buy a notebook that you can use as a collocation notebook, so you can organize it by verb. Like I said before, you can organize it just alphabetically. Lots of notebooks are these days, vocabulary notebooks these days are organized alphabetically. So it's really important to keep track of these things so that you can go back to it and see and say, oh, okay, I remember that collocation. And that way, when you're listening for it, when you're reading for it, when you've got a note of them, that way it kind of comes from, because you can understand these things, but what we want is it not just to be passive knowledge and being able to understand it. We want you to actually be able to produce these collocations, and that's how you get more advanced. So that's kind of the best, my recommended way of learning collocations and actually being able to use them. Another option is to buy a book. There are collocations books out there now. There's a really good one, English Collocations in Use. I really recommend it. You have collocations on different themes, different topics throughout it. So it's made by the same people who make English Grammar in Use and all of those other books, English Vocabulary in Use. But this is all about collocations. So you get a topic, and one page you'll have examples with the collocations in bold, and then you have some exercises to complete as well. And that's a nice way. I mean, personally, I find those exercises a little bit boring. The collocation ones are maybe a little bit more interesting. So it depends on what you do. But the idea of reading and listening a lot in English and picking out the collocations that you can use, and the ones that you see and hear more often, they're going to be the stronger collocations because they're used more often. So that's, a fun way of doing it and learning collocations and focusing on that. So we're coming to an end now in today's lesson. My dog is harassing me to play with him. He has my t-shirt, I think, and he wants to play with it. So I guess I better go and do that. That's the one I've mentioned, published by Cambridge, Ramon. Yes, exactly. It's a good book. It's definitely good. I have an example of it here somewhere, but it's an older one, and they have an intermediate one and they have an advanced one now as well, because the one they had before was it wasn't very clear what level it was, but they have one for intermediate students and one for advanced students now. So yes, thank you all for coming to the live lesson today. I appreciated it. Thank you also for your answers. Lots of really good answers in there. I'm not sure, if any of you. Okay, thank you, Ramon. I tend to do the live lessons every 2 weeks. I think it's been 3 weeks just because I was a little bit busy last week. So, follow me on Facebook. I'm not sure if you do already. I have a Facebook group as well called Learn English with Alex. Feel free to join that, and I usually update everything there. So yeah, thanks for coming. Please like this video if you haven't already. It makes a lot. The YouTube gods like these things when the videos are liked and things like that. Obviously, follow me on social media, subscribe to the channel, blah blah blah, etc. All these things. So I'll try to do another live lesson before Christmas. Keep an eye on social media, and we'll see if I manage it. So thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Mum. So thank you for joining as well. And so take care. I have a new lesson coming out tomorrow. It's on YouTube. It's a little bit of a different one because I've made a video on what's coming up to Christmas. I've made a video on gifts that you can buy somebody to help them improve their English. So just small things, you know, just thought I'd do something a little bit different. So check that out tomorrow on my channel. And thank you again. Take care, and I'll see you all again.